Another day slips away, escapes, disintegrates. You would have thought by now I would have somehow escaped this house and ventured out, but I wanted to stay.
Slowly London's getting sterilised all its best clubs. There are so many historical spaces that are now residential.
They didn't shut down because they weren't busy. They shut down because someone thinks, oh yeah, I think we need some more flats. We haven't got enough flats.
You need to have a club scene. I mean, we are London after all.
Another day slips away, escapes, disintegrates.
Oh, look at that, will you? See where that big orange crane is? That used to be the Astoria. 3,000 people dancing every Friday and Saturday. Where that big grey thing in the middle is, just in front of that, used to be the entrance to the milk bar. Oh, don't, I'm going to start crying. And then if you come forward from there and down to the front of it, where the blue panel is, that used to be the Velvet Underground. I can remember standing there with people who, looking down from up here, watching the bulldozers, you know, they're all blind up there, seeing clubs that meant so much to so many people being smashed down. There's got to be about at least 50 or 60 businesses that went. But it was always going to happen. There was nothing that we didn't know about. You know, even 20 years ago they were talking about doing it, and it's finally happened. It's life, boy.
When I had a meeting and they said the end was closing down, I think one of the worst days of my life. It's just like I feel so sad because I had so much passion for the club.
It ended, well, basically because of what London had been going through. What happened was 3 years before we closed, the property got taken over by a new owner who was a property developer, and that property developer had been harassing us for 3 years to get out. Well, we had a 25-year lease and we was like, you know what, we're the best club in the world, we're not going anywhere, sorry, we're here to stay. And it got to a point in July 2008, the property developer came to us again after many times and said, will you guys close in January? In January you're going to have 8 years left on your 25-year lease. We're not going to renew that in 8 years' time. We'll give you 8 years profit at your best year now to get out. For me that was a no-brainer. I'd given all my family percentages of the club. I'm from a very poor family, so for them to get a piece of money and clear their debts and, you know, have a bit of money to spend was a brilliant thing. We obviously made the right decision. A month later, the credit crunch kicked in. The owner wanted us to reopen. He said, will you not close? But we'd already started. We'd been looking for an exit anyway, and the exit plan that we had was airtight. And it was like, you know what, we're done. We've done a fantastic job. There's lots of great clubs opening in London all the time. It's time for us to move on. And that's what we did. We moved on.
So when shut down for me, it was like, I feel a little bit lost, to be honest. I feel very lost, and it's still now. Every time I came to London, I'm not passed through the end. I just try to, you know, not seeing the club. I just want to keep the best memories of my life.
Everybody there was on the understanding it would be cheap rent, but it would be developed one day. And I think when the Eurostar came in, that was really what was the icing. That was the nail in the coffin.
The fact that people spoke out to stop Ministry shutting down, it's brilliant. Like, I love that about London.
The people who saved Ministry need to be applauded because they've kept one of the most important clubs in the music scene. Whether you love it or hate it, Ministry has been a massive, massive influence in the club scene, in the music scene. It's almost like a church now. You can't take things like this off the map. It needed to stay there, and I think it's a shame that we haven't had other battles to save other clubs that have disappeared in the past. The fact that Ministry had the gall to fight for itself and the people to support them were there, you know, thank you.
I think it's because it's been a cornerstone of London clubbing, I think it should stay, and I think it's important it stays. And I don't know actually, even if you uprooted it and took it somewhere else, whether it would be quite that same cornerstone or quite the same.
I think it's critical to have clubs everywhere. The problem is residential. It's just going to naturally happen that clubs are going to be forced out, sort of the second zone, as it were, on the tube map. The problem is that there are even more resis out there, so there will come a critical point where clubs will probably have to go to the top of skyscrapers or underneath them.
To be honest with you, the West End's dead. Soho and this area is known for its nightlife. They actually don't want it. You know, there's loads of residents in Soho, which you'd never believe. There's like strong residents and all that, you know. It's like the hand that's fed them, they're now biting off. You know, they don't want clubs in the West End. They don't. They're happy with just the tourists.
And that'll be the same in Shoreditch, you know. The young people who are moving there now in their late 20s, 30s, if they choose to stay there, when they have children, they then want to close down what they went there for in the first place.
Now everything's like spread, different clubs, you know, in Brixton, Dalston and stuff like that. I think when we have more clubs, it's good. You got more variety of music.
You used to have to go uptown for a late drink. You don't anymore. So people are getting what they want on their doorstep, you know, whether it's north, east, west or south, you know, it doesn't matter.
Some of the people that kind of, you know, wanted Shoreditch to be super cool and, you know, thought they were doing something new, and I think they're a bit peed off now that people are coming in and going, and they've actually moved out. They were going even further out. Everyone's really thinking outside the box a little bit. There's, you know, little parties going on in, you know, disused toilets under the ground. There's parties going on at the top of office blocks. There's parties, you know, there are parties everywhere. And I think that's what was so special about that whole East revival.
There's still new clubs springing up and new things happening, and temporary warehouse spaces that have 10 licenses. So there's a lot going on in London. There always will be a lot going on in London. And, you know, the redevelopment will continue. London will continue to reinvent itself, and there will be more new clubs on the way.
Yesterday is so far away, today is nearly gone, tomorrow's looming. Yesterday is so far away, today is nearly gone, tomorrow's looming.